7 innocent people died after taking a trusted household medicine, but it wasn't the flu or a virus that took their lives. It was cyanide, a deadly poison, hidden in plain sight. Why did it happen? And, perhaps more importantly, who was responsible for this terrifying act? Even today, nearly 40 years later, the Tylenol murders remain unsolved. But as we dig deeper, could new revelations finally provide an answer? Stay with us, because what we uncover may shock you. The year was 1982. The nation was still reeling from economic woes and the shadow of the Cold War. But in September, something far more terrifying began to grip Chicago, an invisible killer. 7 people from different walks of life, different neighborhoods, and different ages, suddenly collapsed and died. The only connection? They had all taken Tylenol, a widely trusted over-the-counter painkiller. And as police scrambled to connect the dots, they soon realized they were facing a murder spree unlike anything they had seen before. September 29, 1982. Mary Kellerman, a 12-year-old girl from Elk Grove Village, was feeling under the weather. Like so many people do, her parents gave her a Tylenol capsule to ease her symptoms. But just hours later, Mary was dead. Doctors were baffled. What could have caused such a sudden death? That same day, a 27-year-old postal worker named Adam Janis suddenly collapsed at his home. His family rushed to his side, but within hours, his brother Stanley and sister-in-law Teresa would also be dead, all of them having taken Tylenol from the same bottle. Panic spread like wildfire. How could a trusted medication, found in nearly every American home, turn deadly? And if these deaths were linked, how far would the poison spread? Was anyone truly safe? As more deaths were confirmed, Mary Reiner, a young mother who had just given birth, Paula Prince, a flight attendant, Chicago was gripped with fear. People threw away bottles of Tylenol by the thousands. Pharmacies pulled the product from their shelves, and stores were left barren as customers refused to trust the brand they'd relied on for years. The authorities quickly realized that the capsules had been tampered with. Cyanide, a highly lethal chemical that can kill within minutes, had been added to the pills. But how? And more importantly, by whom? The police began searching for any clues as to how the killer was able to target seemingly random bottles from multiple stores. The FBI, local law enforcement, and even the FDA were all called in. It was a race against time, not just to find the killer but to prevent more deaths. How many more poisoned bottles were out there? Could someone already be reaching for their Tylenol, unaware of the danger? As investigators raced to figure out the connection between the stores, the killer remained in the shadows. Who could be capable of such a cold-blooded, random attack? Could they be watching the chaos unfold, satisfied by the panic they had caused? Police began questioning hundreds of people. They analyzed every suspect with any possible connection to cyanide or Tylenol production. The list of potential suspects grew, but one name stood out above all others. James William Lewis. Lewis became a prime suspect after sending an extortion letter to Johnson & Johnson, the company that manufactured Tylenol. In this letter, Lewis demanded $1 million in exchange for stopping the killings. But was Lewis the actual murderer, or just an opportunist looking to exploit the tragedy? While police zeroed in on Lewis, there was one glaring problem. He had an alibi. He wasn't in the Chicago area at the time of the murders, and despite his extortion attempt, there was no physical evidence linking him to the crime. Could this cold, calculated individual have pulled off the murders from a distance, or was someone else entirely behind it? Despite the lack of direct evidence, Lewis was convicted of extortion and sentenced to 20 years in prison. But no murder charges were ever brought against him. And as time passed, the authorities were left with more questions than answers. The Tylenol murders shook America to its core and forever changed the way we purchase products. Tamper-proof packaging, which is now standard on everything from medicine to food, was introduced in response to these horrific events. Yet the fear never truly went away. Over the years, there have been several copycat attempts, from people poisoning food to tampering with other over-the-counter medications. Today, the case remains officially unsolved. DNA testing, modern forensics, and a deep dive into the evidence have yet to bring the true killer to justice. But the shadow of the Tylenol murders still looms large. Could the killer still be out there, or did they simply vanish into thin air after committing one of the most notorious crimes in U.S. history? Over the years, countless theories have been proposed. Some believe the murders were the work of a random madman who sought to cause chaos with no clear motive. Others have looked deeper into corporate sabotage, claiming that someone with inside knowledge of Tylenol's production could have orchestrated the poisonings to damage the company. Some still believe that Lewis, despite his denials, was involved in a much bigger, more calculated scheme. But with no definitive answer, these remain just that, theories. And as the years roll on, the likelihood of ever bringing the Tylenol killer to justice seems to fade. The Tylenol murders remain one of the most infamous cold cases in American history. 7 lives were taken in a senseless act of violence that changed the way we trust the products we use every day. And while the case may never be officially solved, the victims and their families deserve to be remembered. Their deaths sparked a national conversation and led to changes that have kept us all safer. Thank you for watching. If you're fascinated by cold cases, unsolved and solved mysteries, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more videos just like this. And if you have a theory about what really happened back in 1982, drop it in the comments below. We'd love to hear your thoughts.